Welcome to Muskegon Rising, a community service project of the Muskegon Rotary Club. Our purpose is to create lasting positive change. We've been doing that here since 1916. So, let's get started.
Hello, I'm your host, Aaron Mikey, for today's episode of the Muskegon Rising podcast. Today I'm here with Dan Skoglund, the Executive Director and President of the Muskegon Rescue Mission. Welcome, Dan.
Good morning. Thank you.
So glad you're here. Lots of stuff going on at the Rescue Mission.
There is, and it is truly an honor to join you.
And it's better here today than you shoving me off a building in the past, doing rappelling to raise money.
We gave you a rope.
Two, in fact. Or doing the Foreshore Adventure Run, right?
Absolutely.
That's a couple of fundraisers you do that I've participated in and just love them. So keep up doing those. I always like to test my mettle in the spring running through the beach sand.
We look forward to having you join us.
So for listeners who don't know what the Rescue Mission is, give us a 30-second elevator speech about what you do.
Yeah, Muskegon Rescue Mission does many things. We're most known for our emergency shelter and food service, and that's where everything begins for us. As a ministry, our goal is to help people escape poverty, first spiritually, then emotionally, and finally financially, so you change the trajectory of families for generations to come.
So when you think about dignity, hope, and long-term stability, what does that look like for you at the Rescue Mission?
At the mission, we believe that people have worth and value, they are loved, and they have a future. Most of the people that come to us struggle with that concept. They've been told for years, in many cases, that they're not. There is nothing for them. We had one young man that came to us who said his mother told him just go to jail. That's all there is for people like us. And so that's where it starts with us, is building relationships with individuals so they understand that they have worth and value, that they see that they see there's hope for them. There is a path forward. And so that's where everything begins for us as we start to work with individuals to see them move forward in their life.
That's really powerful work.
It is. It is hard work. It is down and dirty work. It's meeting people where they are. Individuals come to us are dealing with trauma in their life at some point. Some was last week, some was decades ago. And until you deal with that trauma, it's really difficult for people to be able to move forward.
Just perpetuates that cycle, whether it's poverty or violence or no way out thought.
Well, it does, because what we see is through years is kids coming back saying, I was here with my parents, because they're still being brought up in that same trauma, that same situation, and that's all they see for themselves is what they saw their parents go through. And that's true for every family. It's just different when you're dealing with people that are dealing in trauma and in poverty.
Wow. So you have some big news. Not so, it's older now, but it's big still. I just toured it a few weeks ago. You have a new child care center. What's that all about?
Yeah, it opened just a little over 2 years ago. It's called Bright Future, simply because that's what we believe the children have, is a bright future. We were working and taking polls and talking to individuals staying with us and from the community saying, what are the barriers you face to moving out of poverty? One of the things that came up is for people was availability and affordability of daycare, particularly for families whose daycare is being paid through for the Department of Health and Human Services. And we really felt that was a spot where we could step in and help families. And it gave us the first time in our history where we could work with families prior to them being homeless. Be able to say, let's see if we can get on the front side of this, work with them before they need the shelter, keep them employed, help them find employment so that they don't need our other services.
That's amazing. So how do people access your child care?
Strangely enough, we have a website called Bright Futures. The daycare is open to anybody, but we really specialize with families that are low income, whose children, the daycare is being paid for through the DHHS. We are one of the only, I don't know if the only, but one of the only for sure daycares that we take that as payment in full. Most daycares either won't take the payment or they require the parents to pay the difference between the state rate and their rate. And for many families, that just puts daycare unaffordable and unattainable, or they can't find somebody that will take their kids. So we currently have right around 50 children enrolled in that, and that allows families to stay employed, stay out of the system.
It's an amazing space, and it's really unique because you do something that most other child care providers don't do. You take infants.
We do. We take children from newborn through age 5. And one of the other things that we instituted at the program is we actually have a preschool. You cannot sign up for our preschool. It's not that style. If you're in our daycare, you're in our preschool automatically. There's no additional charge. It's just provided free. And it is the state curriculum. It is a licensed preschool teacher who is teaching this. So it's the same material you're getting at the preschools that you're paying for. We just want to see the kids get started right.
That's amazing. It really just setting those kids up for success. That's such a powerful place for them to land.
Well, it is, because it begins then with the children understanding that they have a future that is bright. When they start school, they're going to see themselves as one of the smart kids going in, because they already have that foundation that many of the children won't have.
They walk in with confidence.
They do.
And that's all they need to start.
And it's fun to watch and see them come through the preschool program and see that grow and see the children become confident, excited, and then working with younger kids and learning and teaching them.
Absolutely. Capacity is always a question in childcare. The state has minimums. How do you staff for that? It's challenging staffing anywhere right now, and you're staffing very high levels for those infants and those toddlers. How do you get those folks?
Well, staffing is a challenge. It always is. Everyone struggles with it. We are different from your traditional daycare, that this really is a calling. That is part of who we are and what we do, working with families in crisis, connecting them to other resources, wrapping around and really developing relationships with the families. We are not simply a place where people drop their kids off and pick them up. We have worked with families through many crises and being able to connect them to resources. So it really is the teachers and the aides coming to and understanding that and finding that that is their calling, and their heart goes beyond just caring for kids. It's caring for the families.
Really wrap around services. So you mentioned trauma. And so how do you care for people that have all that trauma? What type of resources do you have? In addition to your childcare, there's other rooms there that you bring folks in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we work with the trauma-informed care, and that is meeting people where they're at, working through them. So we believe in a very broad collaborative approach, letting the specialists come in and do what they do best. So we actually have specialists that come in. One that comes in that is a specialist in infant mental health. So we start very young with the kids. We do lots of training, bring other, like the outside resources in, connecting the families to resources on our community resource center, which is actually attached to our daycare, where we have this year about almost 100 partners that have come in and out of that building, all specialized in certain areas. So that's where we really work with the families to connect them to the other resources they need to move forward.
I found that really special, is you don't try to do everything for the individuals you're serving at the rescue mission. You bring in partners that are the experts.
Correct. We just do what you do well and what you're the expert at, and bring the other experts in to bring the other pieces together, that we're stronger through a collaborative approach, that families find their way through faster by doing what you do well and having a team. We find that our average is that someone needs to connect to 6 to 8 resources to be able to move through, with each doing just their piece. And so it's a variety of resources depending on the needs of the family. But that's the approach that we've taken, and our community partners have been brilliant. They buy into it. They all work. Since we've opened the resource center, there's been almost 5,000 referrals made through that system. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. You also have rent space in there.
We don't rent space.
It's free.
It's free. It is free. There's no charge. We never charge for any of the services we provide for individuals coming to us. Same thing with our community partners. There's no charge when they come into the building. We don't charge them. They don't charge the individuals they're working with.
So they can come in, use that space, they can hold a meeting, but then they also provide services to the folks that you're servicing.
Correct. And the people coming in the resource center are individuals staying at the shelters. It's also open to anybody in the community. It's not restricted. So we have many of our partners are bringing people that have never stayed at the shelter, likely will never stay at the shelter. They're bringing them to our facility to connect to other resources because it's easier, and the multiple resources in one location. That's
amazing. So I walked into your building, your new child care and center there, and there are names on the wall. I don't want to ask you to name any because you'll miss some, but you mentioned community partners. You have hundreds and hundreds of partners and donors that make sure that the rescue mission keeps going every day.
We do. The mission is privately funded, so we receive no state or federal funding. So it is the community that allows us to keep our doors open to be able to service and care for individuals coming through our doors. So yeah, we have lots of donors that make that happen. Individuals, businesses, churches, community funds. And then we also have, through the Resource Center, lots and lots of partners ranging from mental health to Department of Health and Human Services, Secretary of State, Register of Deeds, financial institutions that are coming in, a mobile medical and dental clinic that come in, cooking classes, recovery classes, art therapy, and it just goes on and on and on.
What I find amazing is usually those who give are the ones who also need so much. And you partner with the local colleges to help put food in their food pantries. You give to the community deeply as well.
We do. We actually operate 4 food pantries in the community. We don't typically shout that from the mountaintops, but we do. We have our food pantry at our men's facility. We also maintain the food pantry at Muskegon Community College, at Baker College, and Orchard View Adult Education. It just gets back to, again, that's what we do well. And then we partner with the colleges on education because that's what they do well.
It's awesome. We appreciate it on behalf of both colleges. I know that it helps our needy students in times that we don't even know that they're food challenged. We have those resources available for them.
Yeah, that really is one of those invisible needs that people don't see. They assume kids are going to college, so therefore everything's okay because they're at college. And you discover that many times that's just not the case. So they also, through the food pantry and then also through our household and gift certificate program to our stores to make sure that students have clothing and a proper clothing so that they can attend college, they can go to a job interview, they can do internships, all those things that they need to do. Just alleviating some of those concerns, those worries, those barriers. So it just makes their life maybe just a little bit easier and comfortable for them.
Great. So as you built this child care center, it was during COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was right after we started. Yes, it was.
Right after it started. And, it was an empty field right behind, and it's amazing to see that change and how you're servicing that community with childcare. It's absolutely wonderful. Highlight a partnership that you didn't expect to happen based on all the work that you're doing. It just kind of, you didn't expect something to occur, and here it is.
But one of the things that we missed badly when we were putting this concept together and this whole plan together was the relationships we would build with the families in the daycare and the ability to connect them to resources right on the other side of the building. The one that has been utilized most often by the parents, or was the hardest for them to connect with, is actually Department of Health and Human Services. They are overworked, they're understaffed, they have massive caseloads, and they would be calling and trying to get help through them and get things approved, get paperwork in, get the process going, and they just couldn't find the connection. Well, it turns out they're in our building. So Nicole, our daycare director, would tell them, not a problem, leave the kids here, they're taken care of, we're fine, let's walk through this door, walk them over and say, there's a case manager, here you go. And so we're able to expedite the paperwork, we're able to find out what paperwork was missing, what did they need, get that done, and get that in. And we're also in a position where we take the children into our daycare before they're approved by DHHS. Because we don't want that to be a barrier, because it can take some time and a lag for that. So we're like, they're fine, we'll take care of them, we'll get paid later, we're okay, let's keep you employed, let's keep you moving forward, let's keep this process going. So that was one that we just really missed, but has been a huge blessing for us.
That's wonderful, and that you're letting those children come into daycare without payment is just a blessing for those parents, because that could be the linchpin that they become unemployed.
Well, it is for many, and I get why daycares can't, because they're in a position they need the income. It's a business model that they have. We're fortunate we're in a position where we can do that and be able to relieve that worry, because Nicole's done this long enough. She knows if they're going to be approved or not. We just need to get the paperwork lined up. We'll figure that part out.
Absolutely. So as you've been doing this childcare for a few years now, are there any metrics that you're seeing? What is attendance like? What is the impact that it's making? What does the data show, if you have some?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because while we're working with the children, we're also quite often working with the parents on those soft skills when it comes to jobs, when it comes to the kids being there, to the timing of the kids being there when they're supposed to be there, which obviously is impacting other parts of their lives. So we've been able to see that. Now, there's not a lot of hard data that you can drive to say, here's what we're seeing. It's more anecdotal through the stories that we're hearing from families and parents as they're coming through the doors. We had one mom leave not that long ago in tears, because she was going to have to quit her job because she could not find daycare for her two children. One was a newborn. We're like, not a problem. We got you. She was able to stay employed. Otherwise, she was going to have to quit her job and go on state assistance because she was going to be staying home with her kids because nobody would care for them.
Well, you just ruined my next question.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's great. I was going to just say, tell us a story. And I've been to the mission enough to see you. You're not an executive director or a president that is often in office. You're boots on the ground. You're in those buildings. You're seeing these individuals and the impact every day and working arm in arm with your colleagues there. So it's great that you know those stories. Do you have one more potentially that you could tell our listeners?
Oh, I've got lots of stories I can share with your listeners. One that is actually working with a mom right now. Two children. Olivia is the daughter, a young daughter, and Noah is her son. And this is a published story, so I'm not revealing anything that's not out there. It's in our newsletter. That we're struggling. Daughter has health challenges, could not find daycares that could handle her. Son having severe speech delays and other educational and developmental delays. And we said, sure, we'll take them. And Sandy, who works in our infant care room, just loves that little girl and took care of her and said, we've got this, we'll figure this out. We've been working with doctors, with reporting back to doctors, and helping the doctors understand the behavior, what was going on, what we were seeing, what we're seeing and the child is experiencing, to help them figure out what was best for her. Her son is now in our preschool room and is just doing unbelievably well and is starting to develop. If I can actually read this for you, a couple of quotes from her. This is more than a daycare. The staff notices every detail. They really care, and I see that they care, and that care being given to each child. Her closing statement was, there's a reason we are at Bright Futures. It was divine intervention. I can go to work knowing that my children are safe, loved, and learning. You can't put a price on that.
That pulls on. If that doesn't pull on your heartstrings, I don't know what will, right? That's the impact that you want to make every day in your job.
Well, that's why we do this. We tell people we didn't open a daycare because we just wanted to care for kids and have a business. We opened a daycare because we want to work with families. We want to see them succeed. We want the kids and the families to know they're loved and they have a future.
So thinking about child care and then your unhoused population, what is the number one barrier that they have, or are there just too many to name? Is there one thing that if we could solve that would clear up 80% of the stuff you deal with? I
really wish there was, because that would make this a lot easier to deal with. If you could find that one magic thing. As we tell people, they say homelessness is not like curing a disease where you can find a magic antidote and you can make polio go away. Homelessness is so unique to each individual and to the barriers that they face and their history and where they're going that there's not one common thread that weaves through it all. So that is the challenge of it, and that's where we're seeing. And since we've opened the Community Resource Center and the daycare just over 2 years ago, we've been able to see about 480 people placed into employment and about 450 placed into housing. So it's a long game. It's a trend to see them moving forward and through by dealing with each individual personally, by developing a plan specific to them, to their needs, to their goals, to their desires, and helping them find that way forward through the connections.
Wow. So every individual gets their personal service and their personal plan from your team.
That's what, yeah, they do. And that's what it takes, because it needs to be about them. It's not about what we want for them. It has to be, that's how we all operate, right? We all want what we want. So how do we help them accomplish those goals? And then they start to see that path. They start to make progress. They're seeing things moving forward. They start to see there really is a way out. There really is a path. And then to watch them grow and go is exciting.
So I kicked it off with some of your fundraising events that you've done in the past and currently continue to do on the beach. What is your funding model? You're a nonprofit. You don't receive state or federal money directly. How do you pay the bills?
It is the community coming around. Since the mission was founded in 1907 and has been privately funded this entire 118 years, it is this community that makes this happen. It's a community looking and saying, we want to help individuals. We want to see them move forward. And they give us the money and allow us to do what we do. And without that, our doors would close.
That's a great story. One of your fundraisers is the Foreshore Adventure Run. It's in the spring. What an event.
Yeah.
You operate almost entirely that on volunteers, and your staff's working on Saturdays. And how many volunteers do you have?
Mission-wide, we have right around 400 volunteers.
400 people that help you out.
Yeah.
Wow. What does growth look like for the rescue mission in the next 12 to 24 months?
I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. We have lots of opportunities. We've had several places approach us about opening daycares in their facilities to be able to provide it for their employees or in low-income housing models around, saying if we're interested in that. So we're exploring those opportunities. We are exploring some micro-housing opportunities within the community because rental, when you are a renter, that is the least stable form of housing you can have. You are at the mercy of your landlord. They could sell the property, they can raise the rent. So if we can get into some micro-housing and be able to have people start developing ownership where they're building equity, they're moving out of poverty, they have assets to pass on. So a variety of things that we're working with collaborative partners to see what can we do. That's really where we're going over the next 12 to 24 months is that next evolution of how do we see people moving out.
There's just a housing crisis in our community, whether it's the rents are so high or housing prices to purchase one, they've gotten so expensive. And we're short thousands of doors. So that micro-housing sounds like a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity where people can actually buy a home for the same money they're paying in rent. Stabilize their housing, stabilize the payment, guarantee that, and stabilize that for the kids, like I said. So it's a model that we're looking at exploring. It's one that we haven't found out there. So we're kind of making this one up and working with the city and others to see what opportunities are available.
Well, you'll build a model for national.
I'm sure it exists. We just haven't found it yet.
Well, keep looking, keep working on it. So how can businesses, churches, or civic groups plug in with the rescue mission?
There's really a couple of ways they can. One is by volunteering. We have some very specific volunteer opportunities that people can get. One called BAM, which is Bring a Meal, where people sign up and they can bring a meal once a week, once a month, once a quarter, what works for them. They can get involved at our community resource center, the daycare, at any of our stores, our shelters. It really does take volunteers to make everything go and run. So that's a huge need for us. Obviously, they can get involved financially. As I mentioned, we're privately funded. That's what it takes. It takes real money, real dollars. We have a staff we have to pay. We have bills we have to pay. It takes dollars to do that. And then through our food pantry and personal care item, doing drives for those things to be able to stock those shelves so we can keep them stocked at our shelters as well as our satellite.
Wonderful. Well, you answered my next question as well, but I'll further enhance that. Time, talent, treasures, right? Those are the things that people can give. Which one do you think is most important for the rescue mission?
All of them.
All three.
All three.
I knew that would be the answer.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, not everybody can do all three. Everybody can do one or two of those things. So it's people getting involved at whatever level they have capacity to get involved with. They can join our prayer team. It's a great spot to get plugged in as a volunteer. Come down, volunteer, help out, give, do the drives, whatever works, whatever they can do. But it really is all three that it takes.
Absolutely. I will say personally, I've been to the shelter. I've been, as I said earlier, to the child care facility. The first time I went, I had some anxiety because you don't know what to expect, right?
Correct.
It's a homeless shelter. They are so warm and welcoming. They want to see you there. They know you're there with good intent in your heart. So for our listeners who may have some of that anxiety beyond what I've just said, how would you counsel them on just showing up?
Well, the third Wednesday of every month at noon, we do this thing called Lunch and Tour. And ironically, you get lunch and then you get a tour. So we just call it what it is. So we keep this to about 20 to 30 people, small group where we come in, give a brief update. They get to ask their questions, things they've wondered about, things they've heard. And then we take them on a tour of the facilities so that they can see firsthand what's happening. It's a very simple, easy way to get involved, to see firsthand what's happening, to dip your toes in the water. Or we've had donors that have given to us for a long time, and the most common thing we hear after a tour is, I had no idea. So that's a great spot to come. They'll find the information on our website. They can reach out, let us know. We'd love to have people come down and join us.
That's wonderful. So I got 3 closing questions. What's one misconception of homeless you wish people understood?
That there is no common thread. Homelessness does not care who you are, what education you have, what your job was, or your family history. We have individuals that have stayed with us that have their PhDs. We've had individuals stay with us that have owned multi-million-dollar companies. We have individuals come from what was the most stable family you could possibly imagine. Homelessness just doesn't care. Things happen in life. Sometimes it's decisions. Sometimes it's things that happen. We had one gentleman come with us that lost his home because of medical issues. Lost his job and eventually lost his home because he ran out of money. It just doesn't care. And we are all closer to it than we want to admit.
If you could have one partner, your next best partner, who would that be?
Well, one of the things that we're working on is the whole medical aspect. To help our guests understand that there are things beyond an ER that they can utilize. So we're working with a variety of medical places to say, what can we do to provide clinics, to provide care for individuals on the preventative side? Most people that we work with don't see a doctor until there's a problem. That's an issue. Costs more, it's more complicated, and things can get out of control. So what can we do to get people on the front side and get into that preventative care? And it certainly is available in our community, but for our guests, transportation can be a major hurdle to be able to avail themselves of that. So that's what we're working on. It's not that it doesn't exist. We're just trying to find a model that brings it, makes it a little easier for our community.
Wonderful. If you have one hope in 5 years for Muskegon's youth, what would it be?
That they understand that they are loved, that they have worth and value, and they have a future that they can't even begin to imagine yet.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so thankful for the work that you do in our community. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think our listeners need to hear?
No, it really, the thing that we are seeing through the Community Resource Center, the daycare, the new model in which we're seeing is the national norm. National numbers say that in 2023, homelessness was up 12% from 22. In 24, it was up 18% from 23. Highest numbers ever. In 1992, there was just over 200,000 people homeless. In 2024, there was just under 800,000 people homeless. 25, the numbers are early, but nationally we're seeing the numbers ticking up about 2 to 5% again. Our numbers are actually going down in our community. We're seeing the impact of taking the long game and working and taking this over the past couple of years. Now, they're not down much, but they're going the opposite of the national norm. So that's one of those cases where we believe we are onto a model that is working. It will have its impact.
Wonderful. So for more information on the Muskegon Rescue Mission, visit muskegonmission.org.
Correct.
Awesome. Thanks again, Dan, for all your work and for coming on today. Great message.
Well, thank you for having me. It was truly a privilege.
Thank you for listening to Muskegon Rising, a podcast supported by the Muskegon Rotary Club. If you think someone is doing something amazing in our community, please email us at muskegonrising@muskegonrotary.org.